Hi, I have missed all of you so much, and I have missed teaching art to you there at Ocean View School, and I thought maybe you would be ready to do some art at your house today. And so I have a project planned, and since we don't have materials to pass out, I'm thinking of projects that just don't take too many materials. Today we're going to make a botanical drawing. The word botanical just means something from nature. And I'm hoping that all of you get out in nature a lot while you're stuck away from school. So today what you'll need is one piece of paper. It can be any kind of paper. It could be Xerox paper or drawing paper or any piece of paper, hopefully without lines. But if it has lines, that's okay too. And a pencil and an eraser. So to start, we're going to just pretend we're scientists and look at something very, very carefully, a part of nature. And for that part that we're going to look really close up, we want to give ourselves some special close-up view spaces. So I have some small cups. You can find anything that's a circle, and to make your circle on your paper, you can put a cup upside down. Don't make it too big. Small, trace around it. Now I have one circle. This one's even smaller in the circle part, so I'm going to put that in another place. Make another circle on my paper. You can do them pretty much anywhere. And then I want a little square down in the corner. This is somebody's business card, and I have folded it in half. But you can use anything small, a little square or rectangle, and trace around that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just trace around it. Now I have these shapes on my piece of paper. So the next thing I need to do is find a plant. Maybe a tree, maybe a bush, maybe a flower. Not something that's too simple. I'm going to show you a finished piece. This was done by my daughter Daisy, and she made a botanical drawing of the rose bush that we have over here. I'll show you the actual rose bush. Here it is. Beautiful roses. Called Joseph's coat because Joseph had a coat of many colors, and these roses have many different shades of red and orange and yellow, and they're so beautiful. And so what she did was she looked close up at one of the roses here, and she made a bigger drawing of one rose there. She looked close up at a leaf there and made a bigger drawing of that. And then she made a detailed drawing of one branch. That came out really good. In the little square, she wrote Joseph's coat rose bush and her name. So that worked out really well. I tried something else. I tried making a drawing of my lemon tree. I'm not done, but I'll show you how I've started here. This became kind of a lot, so I didn't finish it yet. But in one circle, I drew one of the lemons. Because I have some colored pencils at home, I think I could color that in a little bit. I don't think I want to color the whole picture because that might be a lot to color and very hard. I'm getting lots of detail. So that's kind of a lot. I think I'll keep pencil in my other part, but maybe on these close-up parts I'll draw in color. This is one of the flowers. If you look carefully at a lemon tree, it has a flower before it has a lemon. Let's go and look. This is my lemon tree. You see how many lemons I have? So many lemons. Right here is a little blossom. These blossoms come before the lemon comes. And so I looked very carefully at that one little detail and drew it in one of my circles. I looked closely at one of my lemons and I drew that and part of a leaf and some of a branch in another one of my circles. And in the background, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm trying to draw more detail of my tree. This became very difficult because there's so much going on, so many branches going in different directions. I think if I draw another section over here to balance it out, that I don't really have to draw each and every part so detailed. But I do want to draw especially the main part, the trunk, and some of the bigger branches, and maybe a little bit of that detail. I'm going to show you how I do that now. Let me get my other piece. So going back to the paper where we started with our circles in our square, I think it's easiest to start with the close-up parts, the detail parts. So if I wanted to draw this detail and put it in this circle, I would look very carefully like a scientist looks. And I would say, what is it? How does this flower look? Well, it's got all of these little parts, and I would try to draw them all very carefully to show them and to show the shapes and make it as big as it is, or maybe even a little bigger, and look at it very carefully and draw each and every part. And it's got some other little buds that haven't opened yet. What are their shapes? Try to follow the shapes and show how they come on to the same stem. So that's what one of the circles is for. And I said the other circle was for showing another detail very close. So in this case, of course, I wanted to show the fruit. Now, it's good to pick a fruit tree or a flowering tree, but you don't have to. You could pick something where it's a tree with some nice kind of bark and on the trunk, and then you could show a close-up of the bark. Or if it's a tree with needles on it, you could show a close-up of that. Or maybe one of its seeds, if it has seeds on the tree, a close-up of that. Something close up, some very interesting part of the whole is what goes in each of these circles. And in the square, if you know the name of your tree or your plant, go ahead and write it in there. This is Meyer lemon. If you don't know the name, you can just describe it. You could just call it tree or flowering bush or plant in my neighbor's yard and put your name there and today's date. Now let me show you something else. I'm going to sit down here on my step, because if I am going to start drawing the bigger part of the tree and the trunk, there's something you need to know about the way that plants and trees and even our bodies grow and how to draw them. If you start at the bottom, that's usually the biggest part, the part that goes into the ground. Look carefully at it and notice each section and how it turns. If I'm looking at mine, I can see that here it has a part where it's been sawed off. And that part, well, what I've done something which I call plugging in. One part plugs into another part. Do you know how you plug something into your wall? Like you take the cord and you plug it into the outlet, and then that plug is kind of biggest where it attaches into the wall. Well, with trees, with their branches, it's kind of the same thing. So if I have a main branch, maybe that's curving around this way, and I want to put another branch coming off of it, the biggest part of that branch is going to be where it attaches, and I'm going to make it plug into the tree like that. Let's take that away. Now it'll look like it's actually attached. Don't just draw it straight out, but look carefully and you will see that sometimes there are other plugs as it turns. It plugs there, and if it turns this way, it would plug there a little bit. And section by section, the biggest part is where it attached to the main trunk, which is the biggest. And as it moves out, it's going to get skinnier and skinnier. If another branch comes off of that, it's got to plug onto that branch, come out. Whenever it turns direction, it plugs again, gets skinnier there. And if something comes off of that, it's going to be even skinnier. Now, when I draw, I think I might make mistakes. If I'm going to make mistakes, I don't want to draw very hard. I want to wait until I'm sure about how something looks. When I'm sure about how it looks, I can press harder. I can make my line darker. And when I want to just shade it with a pencil, if I'm shading something like this branch, for example, I think also about how it changes direction. So if it's going the same direction, I could do that. But wherever it plugs in, I want to show the roundness of the branch. It's not just flat, it's also kind of round. So I can draw in different directions, showing that roundness, but also showing which direction it goes. Showing the roundness and showing the direction it goes. I can show both things on the same branch. Now, something comes off of it, I've got to do the same thing, but it's going to be skinnier and skinnier and smaller, just like my arm plugs into my body here, skinnier. Oh, this can change direction, my elbow, so it kind of plugs in, smaller, and you get smaller and smaller till you're out till your fingers. They're the smallest part. They're like the branches of a tree. So those are my hints for drawing the trunk and the branches. Pay attention to the directions that they're turning and if they branch off from each other. Sometimes they split. And when they split, you can kind of start like that and get the main direction they're going. But here, maybe you see it plug in, plug in, plug in, where it changes directions. Now, doing this whole thing in pencil is absolutely fine. In fact, if you make a nice pencil drawing, I think that sometimes that can be the most satisfying and nicest part. But if you wanted to, we'll go back to my more finished one, not finished all the way. If you wanted to get more finished, you could take a marker, a black marker. I took a Sharpie. I took a fat one just to go around my bigger circles, and a skinny one and went over what was inside, my lines inside my circles. And I think I want to make these all in color inside the circle. But for myself, because the background is getting so detailed, I think I'll leave it in pencil. I don't think I need to do the whole thing in Sharpie or in color, but that is up to you. You can do what you want with that. So I want you to go out, find a plant or a tree or a bush, especially one that has some interesting parts to you. Maybe the bark is interesting. Maybe the leaves are interesting. Maybe the fruit or the flowers are interesting. And I want you to sit and look at it very carefully with your pencil and your paper. Oh, by the way, having something stiff to draw on is a good idea. I used one of these clipboards, but you could just use a book or a magazine to make a stiff surface. And then sit and carefully draw inside your circles and the bigger part in the background to show more of the whole thing. And make yourself a good botanical drawing. Okay, I love you all so much. Stay well with you, with your family, and keep on drawing. I'm going to have another project for you soon. Also, I think I'm going to make a video of myself reading stories like we do in the library. I'll make one video with a picture book and another video with a chapter book for those who like longer stories. Okay, take care. I miss you all. Bye.